Have fun.
Have fun, exactly.
Just hours earlier, in the dead of night in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, he was about to be the loneliest person on the planet.
See ya. Nice and tight.
In a bizarre-looking craft built to withstand incomprehensible pressure, he begins an incredible journey. More than 11 kilometres to the deepest point of the ocean.
Prime rib, deep sea Challenger is launched.
I was probably apprehensive before the dive, but once you get into the process and you're in the countdown and you're going in, way in the back of your mind there's a little voice that says you're being bolted into a sub that's about to go to the deepest place in the world, but you have to tune that voice out.
That's the voice you ignore.
Exactly.
Search crews attempting to locate a submarine missing off the coast of Newfoundland in Canada have reportedly heard banging sounds near the wreck of the Titanic. Around 30 hours of oxygen remains on the missing submersible. The Titan sub disappeared an hour and 45 minutes into its dive to the Titanic on Sunday. Search efforts have so far failed to locate the vessel. Authorities confirm search teams are working around the clock.
The Coast Guard has coordinated search efforts, which have searched a combined 7,600 square miles, an area larger than the state of Connecticut. These search efforts have focused on both surface, with C-130 aircraft searching by sight and with radar, and subsurface, with P-3 aircraft were able to drop and monitor sonar buoys. To date, those search efforts have not yielded any results.
Well, right now there's a massive search underway for the missing submersible with 5 people on board, lost while exploring the Titanic wreck deep in the North Atlantic Ocean. They have enough oxygen to last until Thursday afternoon our time, so the clock is ticking.
The vessel was designed with a 96-hour sustainment capability if there was an emergency on board, and so we're using that time, making the best use of every moment of that time to locate the vessel.
The 5 people on board, a British billionaire, a French diving expert, a Pakistani businessman and his son, and the founder of the sub-company OceanGate Expeditions, Stockton Rush.
Taking a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
Contact was lost about 1 hour 45 minutes into the dive on its way to the wreck of the Titanic, which sits at a depth of almost 4,000 metres. Director James Cameron has logged dozens of dives down to the Titanic in a similar-sized sub. But he's also been much deeper, 11 kilometres to the deepest point of the ocean, the Mariana Trench. I was lucky enough to meet him on that expedition in 2012.
You're in a place that's so remote, nobody can come and help you. I mean, if I got into trouble in Earth orbit, we could always ask the Russians to come and help us, or even the Chinese. There's no help where we went with this vehicle.
His dive would not have been possible if it wasn't for an Aussie, Ron Allum. A TV technician by trade, Ron built the sub for James Cameron, much of it in his garage in Sydney. The challenge for Ron, designing something that could withstand the enormous pressure so far beneath the surface and return the filmmaker safely. Ron, really appreciate your time. There are 5 people on board this sub. They're running out of oxygen Thursday afternoon. How much hope do you have that they'll be rescued?
I really would like to see a positive outcome. Submersibles are designed with quite a few safety features. They have fail-safe systems, and hopefully, say they have lost power, one of these fail-safe systems will drop a weight, and hopefully the sub will ascend at some stage.
What are some of the things that may have gone wrong?
Well, let's hope it's not an engineering problem. If the hull were to collapse, that is catastrophic. Hopefully that the engineering has been done properly, the materials are sound, and that the hull will stay intact. That would have been the worst case, that there would be a collapse of the pressure hull. Inside the submersible on the bottom of the ocean is about 2 degrees C, so without power the sub will start to get colder. They'll be consuming their oxygen. They have carbon dioxide scrubbers, which will remove the carbon dioxide from that atmosphere. So apart from getting cold, and hopefully they have some warm clothing, sleeping bags. We certainly carry sleeping bags in Deep Sea Challenger. Should you be stuck without power and have to wait for a rescue, connector may have failed, they've lost communication, that it won't prevent a fail-safe release mechanism from working. It might be a powered mechanism, you lose power, it'll release. Or it might be a galvanic release, which might take 12 or 24 hours to release a weight. and that will bring it back to the surface as well. So,
And what if it is more catastrophic than an electrical fault?
look, short of going down there and looking for the wreckage, there's no rescue vehicle really that could go to their aid. When you're diving with these submersibles, often these submersibles is a one-off. It's the only vehicle can get to the depths.
So if it's on the bottom of the ocean right now, there is no chance of the 5 people on board being rescued by Thursday afternoon?
If it's still on the bottom of the ocean, how can I say this? And it's collapsed. They would be no longer. But usually, if a a pressure vessel were to collapse, it is fairly catastrophic.
How do we not know where this thing is? We can put a tracker on our kids. Surely we can keep tabs on a sub.
Yeah. Look, there are location devices, and they should be able to keep track. Deep Sea Challenger had an AIS system. Once the sub surfaced, it became a registered ship on a chart, and other shipping in the area would see it would come up as an AIS signal on their radar.
If it had made its way to the surface somewhere, could they then get out of that sub, let the fresh air in?
There may be reports that the hatch is actually bolted from the outside. If you were to open the hatch of a submersible on the surface, it would probably flood and go straight to the bottom. You'd want to get out really quick.
What you're saying is, there is a chance that this thing is on the surface, that the people inside can see the ocean, but don't have access to fresh air.
Yeah, if they are on the surface, at least the surface ocean temperature is a little bit warmer than 2 degrees, which it would be at the bottom of the ocean. So they'll still be starting to feel cold, particularly without power. So just hopefully that they do have warm clothing and sleeping bags to climb into.
The sub is roughly the size of a minivan, and I remember you showing me how to get in and out of your sub. You didn't build it for comfort, did you?
Ours is certainly not built for comfort. Ours is more the size of a small freezer. It would be as cold as a freezer on a dive, but no, it wasn't built for comfort.
And rescuers are racing against time before the supply of oxygen on that sub runs out.
900 miles east of Cape Cod and 12,500 feet down lie the remains of the Titanic, now a high-end tourist attraction where the tourist submersible with 5 on board is now missing. The super-strong titanium and filament-wound carbon fiber submersible was designed and rated to dive to just over 13,000 feet. Just 650 feet down, the sea becomes a lightless, pitch-black abyss. Contact was lost at about 8,700 feet. At that depth, the water temperature is in the lower 30 degrees Fahrenheit, like sitting in a refrigerator since the submersible has no heating. The massive, relentless water pressure is at almost 2 tons per square inch that builds to 3 tons at the Titanic's resting place. Another ultra-deep remote vehicle could maybe latch on, but only if you can find the missing one.
Any type of tracking device on this submersible, and what type of equipment is being used to go down and try to find it?
At that kind of depth, it's almost impossible to track, and the problem is that there are machines in the world that can do this. The question is, can you get them there in time? And then, even if you have the most capable machines, and those would likely be these remote operating vehicles, these underneath things that are not human occupied, they'd have to go down and find it first, and then they would have to find a way to attach that submarine, which is sitting there, if it's available to be lifted up. But finding it alone in a debris field as big as the Titanic's is going to be a very, very difficult thing, because remember, even with lights, it is very, very dark out there.